Hello everybody, I am Sammy15 the Dragon Team here today, and today we're doing yet another interview and decklist profile with Andy Gray, who managed to get top 4 at States and ninth place at Oklahoma.
Hello, Seth.
And yeah, he's been gracious enough to be appear on this channel with me today, and gracious enough to share us your list. So before we go too much into it, why did you decide to play this Night March deck with a Gallade in it?
So, after cities, I started looking at standard for states, and the release of Jolteon had me a bit on edge. Jolteon seemed like a really good counter to Night March, which ended up actually underperforming a lot of people's expectations.
Yeah.
But when Jolteon was hyped, I felt like I needed a counter. So I started testing with Maxis and Gallade, and I found that even when I didn't need it in the matchup for the weakness, it was still really good just to have Premonition if I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kills Shamans, so if you get stuck late game without any Night Marchers left and there's a Shaman on the field for your last 2 prizes, you pull it up and just drop a double and kill it.
So, alright. So that's why you played the deck. That sends a pretty good reasoning. So walk us through your states tournament, or regionals. Just like Texas State's basically was a regionals.
Yeah, I like to joke that I made top 4 at a regional, but realistically, it definitely isn't as hard as a regional because there's so many states that weekend. The good players spread out a bit more.
Yeah.
Where with regionals, they congregate on one location. It's definitely harder than most of the states out there, though, for sure.
Oh, it definitely is.
Texas was week 1, and I played there. That was the first time I brought the list in this configuration to an actual event. Played about a third of my matches were mirror, I think, a quarter.
Wow.
And I won or tied every mirror. In fact, my only loss all weekend before cut, was to Trevenant, game 1 of day 2.
Nice.
I had 5 draws, 3 of those were IDs, so only 2 real draws. And then I played some Evelcall, some Manectric, which the Gallade definitely helped in the Manectric matchups.
Yeah.
And I played, I want to say 3 or 4 mirror matches in Swiss. And then my top 8 match was a mirror as well. And I feel like in the mirror, you just have to play super conservative. And you have to really be on top of things, because if either player creates an opening, the other player is going to exploit that and just win it all from there.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to bench your Shamans or even discard them for that matter, since everyone's playing Target Whistle nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And then in New York, I did bad. That was week 2. I played against Trees and Toadtina rounds 1 and 2 and won both of those.
Wow.
But then I lost to a Toadtina, and then I lost to Wailord. And then I was just done from there.
That was just like bad luck on your part. It seems, just having like 4 bad matchups in a row were just not fun matchups.
Bad matchups 2 rounds in a row, and I feel like I'm unstoppable, and then I just hit 2 losses in a row, and it crushes you, man.
Yeah, your day's like, nope, no, we're not.
Mm-hmm. And so week 3, I went to Oklahoma, and at this time I'm 23 points away from the invite. So in Oklahoma, I lost round 1, and then I won out.
Wow, that win out position.
That's round 6.
Yeah, the win out position is just like so nerve-wracking sometimes, but you did well.
Okay, so Skype had a little hiccup there. Is it all good on your end now?
Yeah, it's all good on my head now.
Okay, so round 7, I'm in this position where if I win, I'm in cut. If I draw, I know I'm making top 16. And if I lose, I don't know what happens. And I'm paired against Trevenant, so I just take the draw with him. So he'll get into cut, and I'm guaranteed top 16, and then I bubbled out. I bubbled out of top 8.
Okay. But hey, at least you got the top 16.
It was one of those calculated decisions to make sure you get the money.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions about the list or my matchups?
Yeah, I have a question about your your top four matchup. How did that go?
My top 4 match in Texas was against Toad Tina, and it was actually the first time I'd ever played that matchup. I hadn't had a chance to test it at all. I'd been testing based on the standard metagame from City Championships,
Mm-hmm.
and so I misplayed it heavily, and he got the setup very quickly both games, and I just kind of rolled over and died.
Damn. It always sucks having to roll over and die like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just making sure, you played this exact same list at all three states, correct?
No. So at Texas, one of the Fighting Fury belts was a 4th Acrobite. I changed that over for Oklahoma, so it was 1 card off at Texas.
Nice. I'm guessing you decided to play the same deck again for Oklahoma because you probably had the same mindset of, if it's not broken, don't fix it, correct?
I found that with events at the states level and larger, it's hard to really accurately predict what a meta is going to look like. Events that big, you're going to see some things you just don't expect, that you don't prepare for. So you need to pick the deck that you're the best with, that you have the most practice with, and that you just feel the most solid with. Now, it's not to say you shouldn't go with a deck that's definitely going to lose, even if you like it most. If Night March is clearly the best deck, but you feel a little stronger with Veltal, and Veltal isn't much worse, play a Veltal. That sort of thing. I'm just lucky the deck that I felt the best with is the best in Standard too.
Eh? That's an excellent way of thinking. It really is.
That's the approach I took last year when I played Donphan in the States. And actually that year, Donphan definitely was not the best deck around. But it still led me to top 8 in Texas and top 16 in both Georgia and Maryland. So,
Nice. I guess that is wonderful words to go by. I know a lot of people would like constantly and just oftentimes just try to play the deck that will do the most well in the meta that they think will count in the meta, but then sometimes the meta ends up being completely and totally opposite of what they actually gained for. I know that's happened to me several times.
once you have more than about 60 players, metas are difficult to predict.
Yeah. League Challenge metas are also sometimes difficult to predict as well because you never know what crazy stuff someone might bring out just because it is a League Challenge.
League Challenge, just play a joke deck and win anyway.
Yeah, especially I think that depends more on the area because if you live like tough areas like California, Texas, Illinois, and like the New York area, then maybe not so much. But
I go to some Houston League Challenges. Late in the season, it's a wide variety.
nice. Because I know I'm from the Chicago area, and I know if I go to a Chicago League Challenge, I'll see Jason Kavinsky, Ross Koth, and those guys. I'm just going, no, why?
Yeah, I would hate to be there.
It's not fun.
I've had to play both of them exactly once.
I had to play against both of them multiple times. The multiple times they kicked my ass. But anyway, yeah, let's go over some of the changes and the things about your list. We already talked about like why you put the Glade in here for the Jolteon, which the Jolteon just kind of ended up being kind of a,
Jolteon, there ended up being other ways to play around it, really.
escape rope, Lysander, etc.
I don't run escape rope, actually.
Oh, you don't, but like a lot of people do run escape rope in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, first things first, I do want to ask, why aren't you playing the escape rope?
I didn't really think of it before States, and by the time I saw people starting to play it, I was just comfortable with the list and wanted to keep going with what I knew at that point.
Fair enough, fair enough. As I said before, don't fix what's not broken.
Exactly.
And why are you only playing 2 Sycamore?
With Sycamore, the big thing there is you can compressor one away early and then hit it. You'll often hit compressor and enough search cards to dig and hit the Versus Seeker on your turn 1. And you've got your Shamans. I used to play it with 3 Sycamore, and it helped in trainer lock matchups, but in most of the other matchups, I ended up finding the 3rd Sycamore was just really a dead card that could have been better used as something else.
So maybe perhaps going to metas where you're predicting with lots and lots of item luck, maybe playing 3 would not be so bad, but I guess maybe and metas that don't have that many item lock decks, you probably are better off the 2. So I think the 2 might be better though.
I think 2's kind of been the standard we've seen a lot.
Yeah. And finally, most Night March players have either gone with like 3, or like a couple fighting 3 belts, or none at all. But like I've not seen any Night March lists do that well with a muscle band. So why are you playing the single muscle band along with the 2 fighting fairy belt?
So back to New York, when I played Tontina round 2, muscle band is the reason I won that game. The big thing about muscle band, and the reason that it's important to have town map in the deck as well, is in about 30% of your games you will prize at least 2 Night Marchers. And in about 12%, I think, or maybe it was 6%, you'll prize at least 3. But so in 1 out of 3 games, you're going to be out 2 Night Marchers at the beginning. That muscle band gives you an extra out to hit 180 without having to discard another Night Marcher that you need, especially if you haven't hit your town map yet. You don't want to discard 9 Night Marchers with 2 prized and 1 active, then there's none to hit for your next attack.
Yeah. I mean, Puzzle of Time does help a little bit, but if you're at Puzzle of Time, like you said, the muscle band would definitely come in handy.
I used the Puzzle of Time to pull the muscle band back, actually, like the compressor.
I love that strategy. I love it, like when you have a battle compressor in your hand, you have 2 Puzzles of Time. I go, well, I'm gonna search for 2 cards out of the deck.
It only works if you hit it all at once, but if you do, it's beautiful.
Yes, it's like, oh, I get to search 2 cards out of my deck now.
Yep.
Oh, and
computer search.
Yeah. Ooh, it is pretty. It is really nice. So I think that's all I have the questions about, like the list in general. So like, if you going back after your states run, are there any cards you wish you wish you did play that you decided not to, or just cards you, looking back, you wanted to play in general, like but couldn't?
I feel like I should have added the 2nd Fighting Fury belt sooner. At first, I didn't want to. I felt like I needed that 4th Acrobike for consistency, and so I was just scared to cut it. But going into Oklahoma, I think, it might have been going into New York, going into one of those, I cut it, and I found my consistency was just as good. And now I had the 2nd belt, so I had more outs to get it when I needed it.
Mm-hmm. For the most part, like when it comes to Night March lists, I've very rarely seen people play more than 2, maybe even 3. But I haven't seen not many people play 4 anymore, especially since like Puzzle of Time has come out. So I feel like 2 or 3 is the magic number at this point. Because some people were saying maybe we should just cut 1 Trainer's Mail, 1 and 1 Acrobike. But people were apparently like the Trainer's Mail better. I think Trainer's Mail is better than the Acrobike.
The 4th Trainer's Mail is very important, and I definitely feel like it's better than Acrobike. The Trainer Mail is more likely to hit Puzzle of Time or Versus Seeker when you really need it in the end game.
Yeah.
The Acrobike can be useful for discarding Night Marchers, but that's so situational. Yeah. And you can Acro into 2 doubles.
Yeah, like I was about to say, Acro can screw you over, which is why I don't play Acrobike.
It's still a good card. It's still a very important card.
Yeah,
if something has to be cut, it's the first one.
Oh yeah, agreed. Personally, I'd rather play an unknown in certain decks, especially Vileplume decks, but that's just me.
There's another variant of Night March I saw going around, actually, where people were playing unknown instead of Acrobike, and I think the idea was to help with trainer lock matchups. But I feel like the Acrobike gives you more consistency than the unknown, because you can acro bike, you get to pick from the two, where you unknown, you just get whatever's on top.
Yeah. And then it also has the unfortunate thing that it's countered by Garbodor, Hexmaniac, and Silent Lamb. All of cards that are at least like every other deck plays Hex at least one Hexmaniac nowadays, so that's a little scary.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think my um so since we do have a bit more time left, can you walk us through your states, your Texas states run a little bit?
Okay, so I really went over most of what I remember. It was 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I know day one, I hit 2 Veltal decks and 2 Manectric decks. And I played against, I want to say, 2 or 3 Night March Mirrors. I think it was 2 Night March Mirrors. There was something else, I can't remember what. And I had 2 IDs at the end of the day.
Was it Greninja, that other deck you're thinking of?
No, I didn't play that day one. I played that day 2.
Okay.
2 of my day 1 opponents actually both made it into day 2.
Nice.
One was my ID final round, and one was a Night March Mirror from earlier in the day. And then on day 2, I played Trevenant round 1, and I lost to that. I was 7-0-2 going into day 2. So I lost to Trevenant. I beat Greninja. I beat a Night March Mirror. I can't remember the other deck I played. And then I ID'd the final round and ended 805 or 815 at 29 points. So I had at least one. I had one normal draw day 1 that was against the Night March Mirror.
Yeah, that's a lot of Night March Mirrors, but like you said, this deck seems to be kind of like you seem to be very good at playing against it.
It's a very fun mirror to play. At least I think so.
Yeah, I think it just comes. No, continue.
No, you first.
Okay. And to me, it just seems like whoever can like, when it comes to Night March Mirrors, it just seems to be kind of like a who can kill the most shamans game to me.
That's part of it. A big part of it is not playing shamans until you have to. A lot of people like to run AZ to pull their shamans back up. But with Target Whistle being such a big thing right now,
yeah,
if it ends up in your discard, they're going to get it anyway. So I felt like once they had one shaman on the field that I could kill, I should go ahead and drop mine to try and get theirs. And then I'd KO theirs. And even if they got a return KO on mine, I could Target Whistle, I send her back up.
Yeah. Like, I think at this point, Target Whistle is pretty much standard in all Night March decks. Like, yeah, I think
it's a very good card.
Yeah. Catches are starting to become very standard as well. And actually, I have a question about that. Why weren't you playing the Pokemon Catcher?
I played 2 Pokemon.
Wait, say that again?
Catchers. Played this list back when I played in cities.
Oh,
well, still a Bronzong build.
Huh.
And I cut them going into states because I felt like with the advent of Puzzle of Time, it used to be you needed the catcher so that you could teammates for the double in the catcher or the Target Whistle in the catcher, so you could hit both pieces off of teammates, whoever 2 pieces you were missing. With Puzzle of Time, now you can hit 2 pieces out of the discard, and you don't have to use your supporter there, so you can use the Lysander with it instead. It was important when you were using your supporter to draw into it.
Nice. And that makes a lot of sense. I
did test the list with 1 catcher still in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I cut for the first Fighting Fury build before Texas.
Ah! That sounds good. Like, because I've seen people play a lot, like 1, maybe even 2 catchers, and I was just curious about that. But I think it's like seen like a lot of Night Marchers and like Night March lists, and like a lot of them play like a lot of different attacks and a lot of different things. Like no Night March list from what I've seen is exactly the same. They're usually 1 or 2 cards off, so it's always kind of interesting seeing a Night March list. like, and seeing if they said run the stuff like catchers or target whistle or not. So I know we already talked about this a little earlier, and we touched on this a little earlier. But how many championship points are you currently sitting at? Do you feel comfortable making your World's End?
307.
Oh, 307. So you've already made your.
At Oklahoma, I closed the invite.
Yeah, you did say
now
that.
I'm just trying to get a couple more league challenge finishes to try and get money for nationals.
That's fair. Are you going to try to make your top 16 for U.S. and Canada at all?
I'm not good enough to make top 16.
I figured I asked anyway. I'm just kind of glad that you, in the Envious in general, that you managed to make Worlds. I can't make Worlds. I'm a scrub.
I'm going to be. I will be going to 2 more regionals, so we'll see what happens. But I highly doubt I'll get close to top 16.
Yeah.
At best, I might finish top 64 going into nationals, and even that's a stretch.
Because I know, like, I mean, last time I think I looked, I think most of the people who have like top 16 or like have like 500 or more championship points or something like that.
Last year, the cutoff was in the low 600s.
Whew. Yeah. I thought as much. So, anything you want to say before we end this? Anything you want to say about this deck in general? Any last thoughts?
I know a lot of people hate Night March, but I've really enjoyed playing it. That said, I hope we do not get those reprints that Japan is getting. The format does need to change and progress, but I'll miss it.
Yeah. I really hope like Night March does not get reprinted. Like seriously, Japan, like why would you do this? Do you want this to?
I doubt we will ever see that set in the U.S.
I hope so too. But thank you once again for doing this interview with me, and thank you for showing us your list.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for everyone who tuned in today. Please like, subscribe, and all that silly stuff, and stay tuned for future content. And I shall see you guys, hopefully, next time.